Have you ever found yourself nodding along, saying yes to every request, every invitation, every extra task, even when you're already stretched thin? Do you feel your energy draining, your time slipping away, and your mental well-being eroding because you just can't seem to decline? What about that fear of disappointing others, that nagging fear of missing out, or that subtle worry of being perceived as selfish? How might that constant, yes, actually be destroying you from the inside out? Hi everyone, and welcome back to True Stoic Mindset, the place where we empower you with timeless wisdom for a modern, more meaningful life. In today's video, we're going to dive deep into the pervasive problem of constantly saying yes. We'll explore the often hidden reasons why this habit is silently destroying your well-being, and most importantly, I'll guide you through the Stoic way to say no, a powerful, principled approach that will help you reclaim control over your time, your energy, and ultimately your life. Problem analysis. Why is it so hard to say no? 1. Social and psychological pressures that lead us to say yes. Now, let's get real for a moment. If saying yes all the time is so draining, why do we keep doing it? It's rarely about a conscious, deliberate choice. Instead, it's often an almost automatic response, driven by powerful, often invisible, social and psychological pressures that tug at our deepest insecurities and desires. Think about it. At a fundamental level, we are wired for connection. We crave acceptance, we yearn to be liked, and we desperately want to avoid conflict or disapproval. So, when someone asks us for a favor, an immediate, almost primal instinct kicks in. If I say no, will they be disappointed? Will they think less of me? Will I be seen as unhelpful or worse, selfish? This fear of negative judgment, this deep-seated desire to be seen as a good person, a team player, or a loyal friend, can be incredibly powerful. We're terrified of that momentary awkward silence, that subtle shift in someone's expression that might signal disapproval. We avoid making waves, even if it means drowning ourselves. And then there's the professional arena. In the workplace, saying yes often feels like a prerequisite for success. We're bombarded with the unspoken message that being a team player means taking on more, never turning down an assignment, always going the extra mile. There's a subtle, yet potent, fear of missing out on opportunities, of being overlooked for promotions, or being labeled as not committed enough. We worry that if we decline, we might jeopardize our standing, or worse, our job security. We tell ourselves, if I don't do it, who will? Believing we're indispensable, or perhaps, fearing no one else is capable. This external pressure morphs into an internal obligation, making no feel like a forbidden word in our professional vocabulary. On a more personal level, many of us battle with a severe case of FOMO, the fear of missing out. We see other seemingly perfect lives on social media, filled with exciting experiences, new projects, and constant engagement, and we feel compelled to say yes to every invitation, every new hobby, every networking event, just so we don't miss that one magical opportunity. We want to prove our worth, not just to others, but often to ourselves, by constantly accumulating experiences and achievements. Our self-worth can become intricately tied to how much we can take on, how much we can help, how much we can achieve. It's a relentless internal drive that whispers, "You have to do it all, or you're not good enough." Ultimately, a significant part of this struggle stems from a simple, yet profound, lack of clear boundaries. We haven't taken the time to define our own limits, our capacity for time, our energy reserves, our true capabilities. We lack a clear plan for our own priorities, so when an external request comes along, it easily fills a void that should have been protected by our own well-defined commitments. This internal ambiguity leaves us vulnerable to every incoming demand, turning our personal lives into a reactive maze rather than a purposeful path. We become doormats, not by choice, but by a failure to define where our own space begins and ends. 2 consequences of constantly saying yes. So, what happens when we consistently succumb to these pressures, when yes becomes our default, almost involuntary response? The consequences are far more insidious and destructive than just feeling a little busy. They erode the very foundation of our well-being. First and foremost, there's the relentless march towards overwhelm and burnout. It's not just about having a full schedule, it's about having a fragmented mind. You're constantly context-switching, trying to juggle too many balls in the air, and your brain is working overtime just to keep track of every commitment. This leads to chronic stress, a state where your body and mind are perpetually in fight-or-flight mode. You feel physically drained, emotionally exhausted, and mentally foggy. Sleep becomes elusive, concentration wanes, and joy starts to feel like a distant memory. This isn't just about feeling tired, it's about a complete depletion of your vital resources. And with that comes the profound loss of time for yourself and for what truly matters. Every yes to an external demand is an implicit no to something that deeply nourishes you. It's a no to quality time with loved ones, a no to pursuing your passions, a no to self-care, to exercise, to quiet contemplation. The things that truly recharge you, that bring meaning and purpose to your life, get pushed to the margins, replaced by obligations that aren't truly yours. You find yourself constantly running on empty, sacrificing your own well-being at the altar of others' expectations. This dispersal of energy also leads to a significant decrease in the quality of your work and your life. When you're spread too thin, your performance suffers. You deliver mediocre results, miss deadlines, or simply feel perpetually overwhelmed by the sheer volume of tasks. That feeling of genuine satisfaction from a job well done or a moment truly lived evaporates. Your life becomes a checklist of to-dos, rather than a tapestry of meaningful experiences. The sheer quantity of commitment starts to cannibalize the quality of your output and your overall life satisfaction. Perhaps one of the most corrosive consequences is the insidious build-up of resentment and frustration. This isn't just directed outwards, it's often directed inwards. You resent yourself for not having the courage to say no, for letting others take advantage of your generosity. You might even start to feel a subtle, underlying frustration with the people making the requests, even if you outwardly agree. This internal bitterness chips away at your peace of mind and can even strain relationships that you value, all because you prioritize their temporary convenience over your long-term well-being. Ultimately, this constant saying, yes, strips you of your autonomy and your ability to make conscious choices. You cease to be the conscious pilot of your own life, instead becoming a passenger, constantly swept along by the currents of others' demands. You lose the sense of agency, the feeling that you are in control of your own destiny. Life feels like it's happening to you, rather than being actively shaped by you. This is a subtle but profound surrender of your personal power, slowly destroying your sense of self and purpose. 3. Transition to the Stoic solution. So, we've painted a pretty clear, and perhaps somewhat bleak, picture of the silent destruction caused by a constant yes. It's a pervasive issue that leaves us drained, resentful, and feeling out of control. It seems like a modern dilemma, born from our hyper-connected, high-demand world. But here's where the perspective shifts, and a profound sense of hope emerges. This problem, this struggle to set boundaries and protect our inner peace, is far from new. In fact, it's a deeply human challenge that thinkers have grappled with for centuries. And it's precisely here that the ancient Stoic philosophers, with their timeless wisdom, offer not just a quick fix or a superficial tip, but a truly profound and lasting solution. They understood the complexities of human nature, the external pressures, and the internal battles we face. They recognized that true freedom comes not from controlling the world around us, but from mastering our own minds and our responses to it. The Stoic approach to saying, "No," isn't about being rude or unhelpful. It's about cultivating a deep sense of self-awareness, personal integrity, and rational decision-making that empowers you to act in alignment with your highest good. They offer us a framework, a way of thinking, that transforms the act of declining from a moment of fear and guilt into an act of courage, wisdom, and self-respect. It's a fundamental mindset shift in how we interact with the world and, crucially, with ourselves. So, let's now turn our attention to these powerful Stoic foundations that will unlock your ability to say, "No," effectively, and in doing so, reclaim your life. Stoic foundations for effective "no" saying. 1. The Dichotomy of Control. To truly understand how to master the art of saying, "No," we must first grasp one of the most fundamental and liberating principles of Stoic philosophy, the dichotomy of control. As the philosopher Epictetus famously taught us, some things are within our control, while others are not. This seemingly simple idea holds profound power when applied to the endless stream of requests and demands we face daily. Think about it. What exactly is within your control when it comes to someone asking something of you? You cannot control whether someone makes a request, when they make it, how urgent they perceive it to be, or even their emotional reaction if you decline. These are all external factors, firmly placed in the realm of things not within our control. Trying to manage or manipulate these external elements, trying to preempt their disappointment, or manage their perception of you, is a futile exercise that only leads to frustration and anxiety. It's like trying to control the weather, a waste of precious energy. However, what you absolutely control is your response to that request. You control your internal judgment of the request, your decision to accept or decline, and how you communicate that decision. This is your personal sphere of influence, your ultimate power. Saying, "No," is not about rejecting the person making the request. It is, in its essence, an act of exercising your fundamental right to control your own internal landscape and your actions. It is a declaration of your sovereignty over your own time, energy, and commitments. The Stoics understood that true peace of mind comes from this clear distinction. When you pour your energy into trying to control what is outside your sphere, like someone else's expectations or feelings, you are setting yourself up for endless turmoil. But when you redirect that energy inwards, focusing solely on what you can control, your judgments, your choices, your values, you gain an unshakable inner calm. Learning to say "no" is, therefore, not just a practical skill, it's a profound application of Stoic wisdom that anchors you in your own power, rather than leaving you adrift on the whims of others. It's about recognizing that your "no" is often the most powerful yes you can give to yourself and to what truly matters in your life. 2. Focus on virtue as the highest good. Building on the foundation of what we can and cannot control, the Stoics offer us another powerful guiding principle: the unwavering focus on virtue as the highest good. For the Stoics, the ultimate goal of life wasn't wealth, fame, or pleasure, but to live a life aligned with true virtue, which they categorized into 4 cardinal virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Understanding these virtues is paramount when it comes to effectively and consciously saying "no." Let's break down how each virtue illuminates our decision-making process. Wisdom compels us to evaluate each request with clear, rational thought. Is this request truly aligned with my deepest values, my overarching life purpose, or my most important commitments? Does it serve my highest good, or is it merely a distraction dressed up as an obligation? Wisdom asks us to pause, reflect, and make a discerning choice, rather than a reactive one driven by fear or people-pleasing. courage is absolutely essential for saying no. It takes immense bravery to face the potential discomfort of disappointing someone, to stand firm in your decision, and to prioritize your well-being over external expectations. Courage empowers you to withstand any momentary awkwardness or perceived disapproval, knowing that you are acting in alignment with your authentic self. It's the strength to choose integrity over immediate gratification or social validation. Justice isn't just about fairness to others, it's also about being just to yourself. Is it fair to yourself to take on so much that you become overwhelmed, resentful, and ineffective? Is it just to others to make a promise you know you might not be able to keep effectively, simply because you couldn't decline? Justice in this context means setting fair boundaries, protecting your energy and time, and ensuring you can deliver on the commitments you do make with integrity and quality. And finally, temperance, or self-control, guides us in accepting commitments without overstepping our own limits. It's the discipline to moderate our yeses, to understand our capacity, and to resist the urge to take on more than is wise or sustainable. Temperance teaches us discernment, knowing when enough is enough, and having the self-restraint to avoid the pitfalls of overcommitment. When you consistently say yes to things that do not align with your core values, your deepest purpose, or your well-being, you are, in essence, saying a resounding no to yourself. You are actively undermining your own growth, your own peace, and your own happiness. The Stoic way to say no is fundamentally about saying a more powerful and more deliberate yes to what truly matters. By declining that which is unimportant or misaligned, you create the space and energy to fully and wholeheartedly embrace what genuinely contributes to your purposeful and virtuous life. This isn't about selfishness, it's about self-governance and cultivating a life of true integrity. 3. Amore Fati and Memento Mori. Now let's explore two seemingly profound, yet incredibly practical, Stoic concepts that offer a unique lens through which to view our ability to say no, Amore Fati, or love of fate, and Memento Mori, the reminder to remember death. At first glance, these might seem disconnected from the everyday struggle of declining a request, but they actually provide powerful motivation and clarity. Amore Fati invites us to embrace everything that happens to us, to love our fate, to accept circumstances as they unfold. This includes the very fact that requests, demands, and unexpected opportunities will constantly come our way. The Stoic acceptance here is not a passive surrender to every demand, rather, it's an acceptance of the existence of the request itself. We don't fight the fact that someone asked us for something. We acknowledge it, accept its presence, and then, immediately, we revert to our sphere of control, our response. Amore Fati encourages us to approach these external inputs with a calm, discerning mind, rather than an immediate, anxious need to please or comply. It means accepting the reality of the ask, then consciously choosing your response based on your inner virtues and priorities, rather than being swept away by external pressure. Equally potent is the principle of Memento Mori. This isn't about being morbid, it's a profound reminder of the finite nature of our time, our energy, and indeed, our very lives. Every yes you utter, particularly to something unnecessary or misaligned, consumes a precious, irreplaceable portion of your limited existence. Each hour spent on an obligation you resented, each burst of energy expended on a task that drained you without purpose, is an hour or a unit of energy that you can never reclaim. This stark reality elevates the act of saying no from a mere inconvenience to a deeply virtuous and self-respecting act. When you say no to an unnecessary demand, you are not just saying no to someone else, you are saying yes to your own finite time, your finite energy, and your finite life. You are protecting your most valuable, non-renewable resources. Memento Mori transforms declining a request into a conscious act of stewardship over your own precious existence. It provides a powerful, almost urgent, motivation to actively and deliberately safeguard your time and energy, turning the decision to say no into an act of profound respect for life and the inevitability of death. It empowers you to live each moment with intention, choosing carefully where your precious yeses will truly go. The Stoic Way to Say No, Detailed Practical Guide. Step 1: Pause and reflect. Buy yourself time. Now that we've laid the foundational Stoic principles, let's get into the actionable steps. This is where theory meets practice, and the first, most crucial step in mastering the Stoic Way to Say No is to pause and reflect. Think of it as buying yourself precious time. When a request comes your way, whether it's a colleague asking for help on a project, a friend inviting you to an event you're not keen on, or a family member needing a favor, our default, automatic response is often to blurt out, yes. This knee-jerk reaction is a product of those psychological and social pressures we discussed earlier. It's driven by a desire to please, a fear of conflict, or simply ingrained habit. But the Stoics teach us the power of reason and the discipline of assent. We should only give our agreement to that which we have fully examined and truly aligned with. So, the very first thing you must do is consciously resist that immediate yes. Instead, create a brief, intentional pause. This might be just a few seconds of silence, a minute to mentally process, or even a few hours if the situation allows for it. This pause is your shield against impulsive commitment. It breaks the automatic chain of reaction and gives your rational mind the space to engage. How do you do this in practice? It's often as simple as a few well-chosen phrases. Instead of a direct yes, try saying something like, I need a moment to check my schedule and current commitments. I'll get back to you shortly. Let me think about that and I'll get back to you by specific time, if possible. I'll check on that and let you know. That's an interesting offer, let me consider it. These phrases are not excuses, they are respectful ways to assert your need for processing time. They are stoic in their essence because they prioritize your internal judgment over external pressure. The purpose of this pause isn't to delay the inevitable or to find a clever excuse. It's to detach from the immediate emotional tug, to allow your rational mind to kick in, and to prevent you from committing to something you'll later regret. It's about ensuring your yes is a conscious, deliberate choice, not a conditioned reflex. This simple act of pausing is your first act of reclaiming control, placing you firmly in the driver's seat of your own decisions. Step 2. Evaluate with reason, not emotion. Consult your inner citadel. Once you've successfully created that vital pause, you move to Step 2. Evaluate with reason, not emotion. This is where you truly consult your inner citadel, that fortress of rational thought that the Stoics championed. This isn't about finding an excuse, it's about making a conscious, principled decision rooted in your highest good, not external pressure or fleeting sentiment. Remember the dichotomy of control. This is where it comes into play. The request itself is external, but your judgment of it, and your response, are entirely within your control. You need to strip away the emotional layers, the fear of offending, the desire to please, the subtle guilt, and look at the request with unvarnished logic. To do this, ask yourself a series of critical questions. Be brutally honest with your answers. Is this request genuinely aligned with my core values or my most important goals right now? Think about the virtues we discussed: wisdom, justice, temperance. Does this request contribute to the purposeful life you're striving to build, or does it pull you off course? If your top priority is completing a major project, does this new request support that, or distract from it? How will saying yes to this request impact my existing commitments, my energy levels, and my overall peace of mind. Be realistic. Don't fall into the trap of optimistic bias, the tendency to underestimate the time and resources a task will actually require. Are you already stretched thin? Will this commitment lead to burnout or resentment? Am I falling prey to the sunk cost fallacy? This is the tendency to continue with something simply because you've already invested time or effort, even if it's no longer beneficial. Just because you've always said yes to this person or type of request doesn't mean you should continue to do so. The past is the past. Focus on the present and the future. What is the worst-case scenario if I say a no, and how likely is that to happen? Often, our fears are far greater than the reality. Will the person truly be angry? Will it genuinely damage the relationship, or is that just anxiety talking? Stoicism encourages us to face our fears head-on and assess them rationally. What is the best-case scenario if I say a no, and what are the long-term benefits of protecting my time and energy? Consider the positive outcomes. Saying no might free you up to pursue more meaningful goals, reduce stress, and cultivate stronger boundaries. It's crucial to be aware of common cognitive biases that can cloud your judgment. Besides optimistic bias and the sunk cost fallacy, watch out for confirmation bias, seeking out information that confirms your pre-existing beliefs, e.g., I'm a helpful person, so I should say yes. Availability heuristic, overestimating the likelihood of events that are easily recalled, e.g., the last time I said no, they were upset, so it's always a disaster. Anchoring bias, over-relying on the first piece of information received, e.g., they asked me first, so I have to say yes. To counter these biases, seek out diverse perspectives, talk to trusted friends or mentors who can offer objective advice. Consider the long term. Don't let short-term discomfort cloud your judgment about the bigger picture. Practice mindfulness. Be present in the moment and observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment. This process of rational evaluation is not cold or uncaring. It's an act of self-respect and a commitment to living a life aligned with your values. It's about ensuring that your yes is a powerful, intentional choice, not a default setting. By consulting your inner citadel, you reclaim agency over your time and energy, allowing you to direct them towards what truly matters. Step 3. Decline respectfully and clearly. Communicate with clarity and benevolence. You've paused, you've evaluated with reason, and now comes the moment to communicate your decision. This is step 3. Decline respectfully and clearly. The Stoic virtues of wisdom and justice guide us here. Wisdom dictates that clarity is kind. Justice requires that we are fair to both ourselves and the person making the request. Often, the fear of saying a no stems from the apprehension of how to say it. We might worry about sounding rude, unhelpful, or creating an awkward situation. But the key is to be direct without being abrupt, to be firm without being aggressive, and to be respectful without being overly apologetic or vague. Avoid lengthy justifications, complicated excuses, or meandering explanations. These often make you sound uncertain and can even invite further negotiation. No is a complete sentence. Start by expressing appreciation if appropriate. A simple, genuine, "Thank you for thinking of me for this opportunity/task/event," or "I appreciate you reaching out," can soften the initial impact. It acknowledges their effort and goodwill. Then deliver your no clearly and concisely. You do not owe anyone an elaborate explanation for your decision. While a brief, general reason can sometimes be helpful to provide context, it is never a requirement. Focus on stating your current capacity or priorities, rather than making excuses about a specific conflict. For example, instead of saying, "I can't because my dog has an appointment," Which is an excuse, try. My schedule is currently full / my plate is full right now, so I won't be able to take that on. I appreciate the offer, but I'm focusing my energy on a few key priorities at the moment. That doesn't quite align with my current goals / commitments, so I have to decline. I'm not able to help with that right now. Notice the focus on I am not able to, or I cannot. This communicates a clear boundary without implying a personal failing or needing to apologize. A firm yet gentle tone is far more effective than a hesitant, apologetic one. Optionally, if you genuinely wish to be helpful and have the capacity, you might offer an alternative solution. This could be, I can't do X, but I could potentially do Y, a smaller, less demanding alternative. Or I can help directly, but I might know someone else who could be a good fit. This shows benevolence without compromising your boundaries. However, remember this is entirely optional and should only be offered if you truly can and want to. The power of declining respectfully and clearly lies in its integrity. By communicating your no with confidence and a lack of unnecessary explanation, you uphold your self-respect and set a precedent for clear boundaries in future interactions. You are signaling that your time and energy are valuable, and your decisions are made with purpose. Step 4. Embrace the consequences. Practice Amore Fati for reactions. You've paused, you've evaluated with reason, you've communicated your no with clarity and respect. Now comes the final, and perhaps most challenging, step: embrace the consequences. This is where we fully apply the Stoic principles of Amore Fati, love of fate, and the dichotomy of control to the reactions of others. Let's be realistic, not everyone will be thrilled with your no. Some people might be disappointed, confused, or even a little upset. They might try to persuade you to change your mind, express their frustration, or subtly imply that you've let them down. This is an unavoidable part of setting boundaries, and it's crucial to remember. Their reactions are entirely outside of your control. You cannot, and should not, attempt to manage their feelings. Trying to control their emotional response is a futile exercise that will only lead to anxiety and guilt. You've acted with integrity, based on your values and a rational assessment of the situation. You've done your part. Their reaction is now their responsibility. The Stoics urge us to accept what we cannot control. This is where Amore Fati comes into play. Embrace the fact that some people might not like your no. Accept their potential disappointment as part of the natural flow of events. Don't fight it. Don't try to smooth it over with lengthy explanations or apologies. You don't need to justify your decision beyond what you've already communicated. Instead, turn your focus inwards. Remind yourself that you acted with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. You prioritized your well-being and your commitments. You honored your values. This is a victory, not a defeat. It's also crucial to avoid the temptation to backtrack. Don't second-guess your decision. Don't offer to reconsider. Don't apologize excessively. This only undermines your boundaries and reinforces the idea that your no is negotiable. Stand firm in your decision, knowing that you acted with integrity and self-respect. Focus instead on the positive consequences of your no. You've protected your time, your energy, and your peace of mind. You've created space for what truly matters to you. You've strengthened your boundaries, making it easier to say no in the future. You've taken a powerful step towards living a more intentional and fulfilling life. Embracing the consequences isn't about being callous or uncaring. It's about recognizing that you are not responsible for other people's emotions. It's about accepting the inherent limitations of your control and focusing on what you can influence, your own thoughts, actions, and values. It's about understanding that a well-placed no is often the most compassionate and courageous act you can offer, both to yourself and to others, in the long run. Building unshakable Stoic boundaries. Define your values and priorities. Now, with those powerful Stoic foundations in place, let's talk about building unshakable boundaries so that saying "no" becomes not just a reaction, but a natural and powerful part of your everyday life. The first, and arguably most critical, step in this process is to define your values and priorities. This is your inner compass, your ultimate, Stoic filter, for every request that comes your way. Think about it. How can you say "no" effectively if you don't truly know what you're saying yes to? Most of us operate on a vague sense of what's important, but the Stoics called for clarity and intention. They taught us to live a life aligned with virtue, with a clear purpose. So, take a moment, perhaps even right after watching this video, and ask yourself, what truly matters most to me in this life? What are the core principles that should guide my decisions? Write down your top 3 to 5 core values. Are they things like integrity, family, personal growth, inner peace, contribution, health, freedom, or wisdom? There's no right or wrong answer. These are your guiding stars. For example, if inner peace is a core value, then any request that consistently disrupts that peace should be viewed with extreme scrutiny. If family time is paramount, then commitments that eat into that sacred time need to be carefully evaluated. Beyond values, identify your top 2 to 3 most important goals or priorities for your current season of life. Are you focused on a specific career project? Personal well-being? Learning a new skill? Strengthening a particular relationship? These are the commitments you've consciously made to yourself, the areas where you genuinely want to invest your precious, finite time and energy. Once you have these clearly defined values and priorities written down, they become your non-negotiable standards. When a new request arrives, you don't have to rely on gut feeling or anxiety. Instead, you hold it up to your personal Stoic filter. Does this request genuinely align with one of my core values? Does it actively support one of my top priorities? If the answer is a clear no, then declining becomes not just easy, but a rational and virtuous choice. It transforms no from a difficult rejection into a powerful affirmation of who you are and what truly matters to you. This clarity is your ultimate defense against overcommitment. Practice the discipline of assent. Following the clarity gained from defining your values, the next crucial step in building unshakable Stoic boundaries is to actively practice the discipline of assent. This is a core Stoic concept, championed by Epictetus, which calls for us to be incredibly deliberate about what we give our mental and emotional yes to. It's about consciously giving your consent, rather than reacting on autopilot. Too often our yeses are not the result of careful consideration, but rather a habitual, almost unconscious, agreement driven by external pressure or our own anxieties. We simply let thoughts, impulses, or requests sweep us along without proper examination. The discipline of assent demands that you pause and scrutinize every impression, every thought, every request before you grant it your inner approval. In practice, this means developing a habit of critical evaluation. When a request comes in, after you've taken that initial pause, ask yourself, do I truly assent to this? Have I fully examined it with reason? Is this something I genuinely want to commit my limited resources to, aligning with my defined values and priorities? You are actively training your mind to only assent, to only give your conscious, deliberate yes to those thoughts, judgments, and crucially, those commitments that genuinely serve your well-being and align with your rational purpose. It means resisting the urge to say yes out of politeness, out of fear, or out of a conditioned response. Your yes becomes a powerful, intentional affirmation, a sign that you have weighed the options and chosen wisely. This discipline directly combats the automatic yes reflex. It's a mental muscle you build through consistent practice. Initially, it might feel awkward or even slow, as you actively interrupt your usual patterns of thought and reaction. But with time, this mindful approach to assent becomes second nature. Your internal filter strengthens, making it increasingly difficult for irrelevant or misaligned demands to slip past your conscious scrutiny. By only assenting to what truly benefits you and aligns with your purpose, you gain unparalleled control over your mental landscape and, consequently, your actions and commitments. Develop your GOTO, no phrases. You've defined your values, and you're practicing the discipline of assent. Now, let's equip you with the practical tools to communicate your boundaries effectively. The next step is to develop your go-to, NO phrases. When you're under pressure, in a social setting, or caught off guard, having pre-prepared, polite, and clear ways to decline can make all the difference. This is an application of Stoic wisdom in communication, being prepared and clear, not evasive. Think about the common situations where you struggle to say no. Is it work-related requests? Social invitations? Family favors? For each scenario, brainstorm a few simple, versatile phrases that resonate with your personal style and comfort level. The goal isn't to sound robotic, but to have a mental toolkit ready, so you don't default to a hesitant yes out of awkwardness or panic. Here are some examples to get you started. Remember to adapt them to sound authentic to you. For work-related requests when your plate is truly full. Thank you for considering me for this, but my current priorities are already maxed out, and I want to ensure I deliver quality on my existing commitments. I appreciate you thinking of me, but I don't have the bandwidth for that right now. That sounds interesting, but I need to focus my energy on specific project/task at the moment to ensure its success. For social invitations when you need to protect your time or energy. Thank you so much for the invitation. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make it. No need for a lengthy explanation here. No is a complete sentence. I appreciate you inviting me, but I'm currently prioritizing some quiet time/rest. Sounds like fun, but I already have a prior commitment. This can be a commitment to yourself. For personal favors or requests from friends/family. I'd love to help, but I'm not able to take on anything additional right now. I really appreciate you asking, but I have to say no this time. My capacity is limited right now, so I unfortunately can't assist with that. Optional, if appropriate and you genuinely want to help in a different way. I can't do X, but I could possibly do Y, a smaller, less demanding alternative, or I might know someone else who can help. The key here is clarity and brevity. You don't owe anyone a lengthy justification or an elaborate excuse. The Stoic approach emphasizes directness tempered with respect. By practicing these phrases, perhaps even saying them out loud to yourself a few times, you build a muscle memory. When the moment comes, you'll feel more confident, less flustered, and more capable of delivering a clear "no" that honors your boundaries without unnecessary drama. This preparation reduces the cognitive load in a moment of pressure, making it far easier to act in alignment with your true intentions. Remind yourself of the benefits of saying no. You've got your values, you're practicing assent, and you've prepared your phrases. Now for the final, continuous pillar in building unshakable Stoic boundaries. Constantly remind yourself of the profound benefits of saying no. This isn't just about avoiding negatives. It's about actively focusing on the immense positives that flow from protecting your boundaries. This mental exercise is crucial for reinforcing your resolve, especially when the initial discomfort of declining still lingers. Our brains are wired to avoid discomfort, and saying no can sometimes feel like a small dose of it. To counteract this, you must deliberately reframe the act of declining. Every no you utter, guided by your Stoic principles, is a powerful yes to something far more valuable. Regularly, perhaps as part of your morning routine or whenever a challenging request comes up, take a moment to recall the specific benefits you gain. Ask yourself, what am I saying yes to by saying no to this? Am I saying yes to my time for self-care, for pursuing my passions, for uninterrupted deep work, for simply resting and recharging? Remember Memento Mori, this limited, precious time is yours to safeguard. Am I saying yes to my energy, preserving it for the people and projects that truly matter, avoiding the exhaustion and resentment that come from overcommitment? Am I saying yes to my inner peace, by reducing stress, maintaining clarity, and preventing the mental clutter that comes from taking on too much? Am I saying yes to quality over quantity, ensuring that the commitments I do undertake, the relationships I do nourish, receive my full, undivided attention and the highest quality of my effort? Am I saying yes to my autonomy and self-respect, by choosing consciously and aligning my actions with my true values, rather than being a mere reactive agent? Embracing this perspective, understanding that your no is a courageous act of self-preservation and strategic alignment, transforms it from a fearful obligation into an empowering discipline. It reinforces the Stoic virtue of temperance, knowing your limits and acting within them, and solidifies your commitment to your highest good. This isn't about becoming selfish, it's about becoming self-governed. It's about recognizing your inherent worth and the finite nature of your resources. By consistently reminding yourself of these profound advantages, you build an unshakable inner conviction. The more clearly you see the benefits, the less intimidating saying no becomes, and the more naturally it aligns with your purposeful, Stoic life. The power of the no. You've journeyed with me through the silent destruction of constantly saying yes, and discovered the profound wisdom of the Stoics in reclaiming your power. We've uncovered the hidden pressures that drive our people-pleasing habits and explored the devastating consequences on our energy, time, and peace of mind. But more importantly, we've armed ourselves with the timeless principles, understanding the dichotomy of control, realizing that our no is our ultimate expression of autonomy, focusing on virtue as the highest good, ensuring our choices align with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, and embracing Amore Fati and Memento Mori, recognizing that protecting our finite time and energy is an act of profound self-respect and love for life itself. We've also walked through the practical, actionable steps, the critical importance of taking a pause and reflect to buy yourself time, the necessity to evaluate with reason, not emotion, consulting your inner citadel, the art of learning to decline respectfully and clearly with pre-prepared phrases, and finally, the courage to embrace the consequences, knowing that other people's reactions are not within your control. We also discussed the ongoing work of building unshakable Stoic boundaries by defining your values, practicing the discipline of assent, and constantly reminding yourself of the benefits. Remember, saying no is not a selfish act, it is an act of profound self-awareness, courage, and wisdom. It is a necessary discipline to protect your most valuable resources and to live a life of true purpose and integrity. Now it's your turn. I challenge you, this week, pick just one specific situation where you consistently find yourself saying yes when you truly want to say no. It could be a small request, an invitation, or an extra task. Practice applying the Stoic way to say no that we've discussed today. Start small, build that muscle, and observe the impact. I genuinely want to hear about your journey. Share your experiences in the comments below. What was the last time you should have said no, but said yes? What challenges did you face when trying to decline? What did you learn when you successfully set a boundary? We can learn so much from each other in this community. If this video has helped you gain a new perspective, empowered you to reclaim control over your life, and resonated with your pursuit of a more meaningful existence, please hit that like button. Subscribe to the True Stoic Mindset channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss our next valuable insights into ancient wisdom for modern living. And please, if you know someone who is constantly overwhelmed by saying, yes, share this video with them. It might be the very message they need to hear. Remember, your life is your most precious asset. Protect it fiercely by learning the Stoic way to say, no, when it truly matters. You have the inherent right to prioritize your well-being and to choose how you spend your invaluable time and energy. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Live with intention, peace, and unyielding inner power.